Hi. Pokemon, at its core, is about friendship and how working together leads to personal growth. Pokemon become the strongest version of themselves through your guidance, and you as a trainer find purpose through achieving your successes and goals. It's a beautiful metaphor for life, and it makes me realize that I can take advantage of these suckers. Everyone's so focused on catching them all or becoming the champion, but nobody realizes that there's money to be made here, baby. So I started up a new game in the Kanto region with one goal: collect the most money I'm legally able to get. Let's become millionaires. As you know, every mainline Pokemon game has an in-game currency, formerly called Pokédollars. This basically exists to aid you in your primary quest, allowing you to buy helpful items like Pokeballs and potions. However, I'll be making the acquisition of money my primary quest. As I play through the game, the decisions I make will be solely based on what gives me the most money in the end.
Yeah, all this nonsense about Pokemon. Tell me about how I can make a profit here, buddy.
Money can be made in two main ways: defeating Pokemon trainers and collecting and selling items. However, these methods are completely exploitable. You could fight the same trainer over and over, or you could generate infinite items to get infinite amounts of money. That's so not in the spirit of what I'm trying to do here, so I need to set a few rules for this challenge. First and foremost, any repeatable way of making money is banned, including things like using the pickup ability to get free items, using wild Pokemon in any way, like stealing items over and over, or any repeatable items that pop up every so often. Basically, if I could do that one thing and make infinite money, it's banned. This also includes rebattling trainers using the Versus Seeker. I'm allowed to fight every trainer one time and one time only, with the exception of Blue, because that motherfucker is everywhere.
So if I ignore those repeatable methods, how much money will the game let me collect? Between the value of the items that I get and the straight up cash I win, that's what I'm trying to find out. With that in mind, I start working my way through the game, collecting any available items like this potion in my PC, and fighting trainers like Blue, whose defeat nets me a cool $80. Although the starter I picked doesn't really matter, I ended up going with Bulbasaur since it's great for handling Brock and Misty, since after Cerulean, we'll be switching to another Pokemon. But we'll get to that in a bit. Whenever I enter a new area for the first time, I'm looking to see what items I can collect and what trainers I can fight. Route 1 only has one item, a potion from the Viridian Pokemart employee, and no trainers to fight, so I can grab Oak's parcel and return it to him, where he gives me and my rival a few items. Most are key items which can't be sold and therefore have zero value, but he does give me 5 Pokeballs, so that's nice. I continue on, picking up every available item in Viridian City and Forest, including a few hidden items. And here we find the first real trainers of the game. However, fighting them now would be a huge mistake. If we wait and come back to fight these trainers later, we can actually get way more money from them. So for now, we just fight the one trainer required to progress. Pewter City contains the first gym leader, Brock, who is a mandatory fight to proceed. There is an optional gym trainer here too, but there's a special reason why we don't skip him. Gym trainers do not remain active once you beat the gym leader. So once I beat Brock, I can't fight that person. So it actually makes sense to just fight them now because it's completely lost money. So I might as well get some money out of him.
Bulbasaur annihilates both trainers, and Brock gives me $1,400 plus a TM worth $1,500. There's one other trainer who will be gone by the time I'm able to come back here, as the second rival fight is inaccessible once you see him in Cerulean. Before we leave Pewter, our net worth is just under $5,000, but we're just getting started. Through Route 3, Route 4, and Mount Moon, I collect every accessible item and fight only the required trainers. Caves are especially annoying since I don't want to spend money on anything, let alone repels, so I just have to suffer through a million wild Pokemon encounters. Mount Moon is where we find the first possibility of recurring items, as there are mushrooms that have a chance to appear when you take a certain number of steps. There are a bunch of items like this, but since I could theoretically do this forever and make $1 trillion, none of these will be kept. I continue this strategy through Cerulean, taking out the 2 gym trainers and Misty thanks to Ivysaur. The game won't let us progress past Cerulean, and the only other thing we can do is pretend we can afford the bike, so we need to go north and fight some more trainers. With just our starter Pokemon, the third rival fight is actually pretty tricky, so I have to reset on a few attempts that go wrong. Another rule in this challenge is that I can reset to get the most optimal outcome. This is an experiment to see how much money you could theoretically get, so as long as it's possible, we want the most favorable outcome. I fight the mandatory bridge trainers, collect a few items, and help Bill with his teleportation machine. Although he doesn't pay me for my time, which feels kind of unfair. I should really start charging for billable hours. Or should I say, billable hours. Now that I have access past Cerulean, it's time for things to take a major turn. Now I have access to Route 5, down here. On Route 5, there is a very special Pokemon that I can catch that changes this whole run. And there is our boy, Meowth. I want to use the least valuable resource I can to catch Meowth, which is 1 Pokeball. I may lose $100 by using this instead of selling it, but trust me when I say that the profit I can get from Meowth is unmatched. As you may know, Meowth is a money-hungry monster, just like me. In fact, its fire red description reads, all it does is sleep in the daytime. At night, it patrols its territory with its eyes aglow. Wait, what? Its leaf green description, that's actually about money, reads, it adores round objects. It wanders the streets on a nightly basis looking for dropped loose change. And how exactly does little old Meowth do that? Well, at level 18, Meowth learns a nifty little move called Payday. Payday works like this. Every time the move is used, a certain number of coins are scattered on the ground. The amount is equal to your level times 5. So if you're level 20 and you use Payday twice, you'll receive $200. This is in addition to the money you get from winning battles. But why be level 20 when instead... Okay, so obviously I didn't just spend 8 hours grinding up a level 10 Meowth. I'm not a crazy person, but I could have by fighting wild Pokemon over and over. And because it's possible, I'm making it a rule that I can level up my Pokemon through cheats. But not using Payday on wild Pokemon, that would break this rule. I get no extra money from this, but I do have a level 100 Meowth. Now I'm sitting at $12,000, and every payday gets me $500. So I could go back and fight all the trainers I missed. However, we have not reached our money-making potential yet. So I keep going forward, collecting items and fighting the 1 mandatory trainer on Route 6. We get $320 from beating the camper, but we also pick up $1,000 and using the move twice. And again, it's legal because I'm not like grinding on the same trainer and collecting money. I'm just going through the game, and I just so happen to be using the move Payday to do that. I'm now required to board the SSN to get the HM for cut, so I do that. There's a bunch of trainers here, but rather than skip most of them, I actually fight every single one. Because once you get that HM, the SSN leaves and those trainers are never to be seen again.
Hope I didn't forget anything.
Because the ability to use Cut was gained by beating Misty's gym, I have no requirement to fight Lieutenant Surge now. So I make my way through Route 9 and Route 10 to end up in the Rock Tunnel. Here we find lots of trainers with Geodudes and Onyxes, which help illustrate a very critical decision that I made.
Okay, so this is why I didn't evolve Meowth, because if I was Persian, I would have definitely killed there, right? But because I'm Meowth, I do less damage, and that's like a higher chance for 2 hits, and every time I use Payday I get more money. So it actually is in my benefit to not kill everything.
Into Lavender Town, my money now sits around $66,000, more than 6 times what I had when I caught Meowth. The Kanto region truly opens up to me here, and I can do any number of things. I can collect items, including paying for a few drinks to immediately turn a profit, and picking up a free Eevee. In the game corner, I'm obviously not allowed to gamble since I could make infinite money from it. Oh, but if you're a child watching this video, you cannot make infinite money gambling. However, there are a bunch of coins on the ground that I can grab, 300 to be exact. I can trade these coins in for prizes, but there's only one thing cheap enough that I can afford, an Abra. Obviously, Abra is not worth anything, I can't sell it, so the value it brings me is $0. My current goal is to get to Fuchsia City, but there's a few things I need to do before I can get there. The first is Rocket Hideout, where I fight the mandatory grunts and Giovanni, but things get interesting when I make it to the Pokemon Tower. Most of the trainers here have teams made up of Ghastlies. This is a huge problem, because Payday is a normal type move and can't hit ghost Pokemon. Am I screwed? These ghosts are making me reevaluate my entire financial life. Am I Scrooged?
So, I could just use Feint Attack, kill them, and just not get any money for it, right? But that's not what smart entrepreneurs think. They think, how can I like get every last dollar out of here? And there is a way to do it. So let's go do it.
I use a second Pokeball to catch a wild Machop because at level 22, Machop learns Foresight, a move that allows ghosts to be hit by normal type moves. So for the mandatory ghost trainers in the tower, using Foresight and switching in Meowth for the literal money shot. Sometimes the ghosts like to curse themselves to death before I can payday, but I just retry these fights until I get the cash I need. Making it to the top of the tower nets me the Pokeflute, allowing me to move the Snorlax where we finally have access to a game-changing item. In the Cycling Road Gate, one of Professor Oak's aides holds the amulet coin, an item that dramatically increases the money you can make from Pokemon battles. Unfortunately, to get this item, you need to have Pokedex entries for 40 caught Pokemon species, and I'm not quite there. The good news is catching 40 Pokemon is really easy. The bad news is buying and using about 20 Pokeballs is money I'd have to spend, and I want to do everything in my power to not spend money. If only there was a way I could get a bunch of free Pokeballs. Well, it just so happens that in Fuchsia City, we can enter the Safari Zone, an area that gives you 30 Pokeballs for free. I guess it's technically not free since you do have to pay a $500 entrance fee, but this is required to beat the game anyway since you get the Surf and Strength HMs here. While I'm here, I'm aiming to collect every item and catch every Pokemon available to me. But I have to consider time as I'm only allowed to take 600 steps before my time is up. Luckily, there's a trick I can use that fixes this issue. By standing in place and spinning on the same tile, I can trigger a wild Pokemon encounter. And this doesn't actually use any steps. So I can just spin around until I catch all the Pokemon in that part of the park. So while I'm here, I catch every single Pokemon available, including all the fishing encounters. It definitely took some resets, as Pokemon do not like getting into Safari Balls, but eventually all the Safari Zone Pokemon are caught. There's two items that I don't have access to right now, but one of them is a nugget, so spending the $500 to come back here is totally worth it. By the time I finish collecting everything, I only have 38 steps left, so the tile spinning strategy is very necessary to complete everything in one trip. Okay, let's do some quick math. I had 7 Pokemon before the Safari Zone. In the Safari Zone itself, I'm able to catch an additional 20 Pokemon. Some of these Pokemon can be evolved via level up, and I can get 6 more Pokemon this way. This gives me a total of 33 Pokemon, 7 short of my goal. So how do I get these final 7 Pokemon? Well, there's a few NPCs throughout the game who will do in-game trades with you, as long as you give them a specific Pokemon. And thankfully, most of these NPCs are looking for Safari Zone Pokemon. On Route 18, someone will give me a Lickitung for my Slowbro. In Cerulean, someone will give me a Jinx for a Poliwhirl. And on Route 5, someone will give me the other Nidoran. Some of these Pokemon are also holding items, so bonus money for me. This is an additional 4 Pokemon, bringing the total to 37. Speaking of Nidoran though, you can get Nidoking and Nidoqueen via evolving with a Moonstone. For some reason in Gen 3, Moonstones can't be sold, so I might as well use them for evolutions. This gives us 2 more and brings us to 39, just 1 away from our goal. We're so close, but all of the ways to catch this last Pokemon seem to cost money. I could use a Pokeball to catch literally anything, or I could get one of the free Pokemon like Lapras or a Hitmon, but both of these would require fighting additional trainers. Fights that I could use the amulet coin on if I waited and make so much more money. If only there is a way I could get this last Pokemon without spending any money. I can now spend my coins on the one thing I can afford at the Celadon Game Corner, Abra, giving me enough Pokemon to get the amulet coin from Professor Oak's aid. And now, the challenge goes full money mode. The amulet coin doubles the amount of money you receive from defeating a trainer. But the amulet coin also doubles the amount of money you get from payday. That's a huge difference, and it's why we waited to fight so many of these early game trainers. So now, with the amulet coin, I go back through the entire game, fighting every trainer I missed and collecting any items blocked by those trainers. This includes fighting gyms 3 through 6, which were all not required to progress. Those gyms give me access to new areas through HMs, so now I have access to almost every area in mainland Kanto.
Oh, it's so nice. I don't think I've ever seen Rock Tunnel with Flash.
When I first equipped the amulet coin, I had about $93,000. By the time I went back and cleared out every trainer, I had $992,286. Praise be to my new god, amulet coin Meowth. Now I can continue surfing down the Seafoam Islands, fighting trainers along the water path. But very quickly, I realize I'm approaching a threshold that I need to be keenly aware of. In Generation 3, the amount of money you can hold is capped, and that cap is $999,999. If you have that much money and you gain additional money, your total will still be that amount. That money is essentially lost because the game has nowhere to store it. I'm only $7,000 from this cap, and I have a bunch of trainers left to fight. So, what do I do? Well, I decided to take a page out of my namesake and billionaires like him. Because the ultra rich don't have their money in cash. No. Most of their money is in investments, and that's what I need to do. That's why I think of billionaires as ice types. They're not very liquid. Oh yes, absolutely nailed. What a perfect comedic blend of two different topics. Now, don't let anybody know that you made this whole video just to tell that joke. So to free up cash on hand, I need to move my money to an investment. Unfortunately, the investment options in Pokemon are, unsurprisingly, very bad. It's not like there's a Kanto stock market. This is a children's game after all. The only investment option is what I've already been collecting: items. Throughout this playthrough, I've been collecting items, but I haven't been selling them because I knew I was gonna hit the money cap. Those items still have value. It's whatever I could sell them for. And that value is kept outside of my cash. So by taking my cash and moving that value to items, I can keep increasing my cash and increasing my net worth, the value of my cash plus the value of my items. I just need to find an item that maximizes the value I can get back. In a perfect world, I'd be able to buy an item for one value, let's say $100, and then sell it back for that same $100. But this isn't a perfect world. It's a Pokemon game. In fact, every single item you can buy in Fire Red sells for exactly half the price, meaning a 50% loss on every investment you make. A 50% loss would make you the worst financial advisor in the world, or the most successful user on our Wall Street bets. But I don't really have a choice. If I max out my money and continue through the game, I'll be making $0 additional dollars. But if I invest in items, I'll at least get some money, which is better than nothing. At the end of the day, the best thing for me to do is to transfer my cash to items, but only the cash that would be lost by hitting the cap. I need to get as close as possible to $999,999 without ever hitting it. So, I dump some money into Ultra Balls and continue through the playthrough, fighting all the trainers and collecting all the items in the Pokemon Mansion, Cinnabar, and the surrounding routes. I also take up Bill's offer to visit the Sevi Islands and get a bunch of additional money there. Whenever I get close to the cash cap, I dump more money into Ultra Balls and continue on. Eventually, I find myself in the 8th gym, taking on Giovanni's ground-type Pokemon. This battle is normally a walk in the park, but because I'm using a weak normal type move against Pokemon with rock types and strong defenses, I actually lose this fight. Retrying the fight a few times and the result is still the same. Meowth just can't do it on his own. So I need to bring in a relief pitcher, someone who can bridge the gap to victory, someone brave, someone resilient, someone to elevate this team to reach their full potential, someone who
is another Meowth. I just want another Meowth. Thankfully, I was given one Pokeball that I can't sell. It's the Master Ball, but I can't sell it, so it's worth nothing. This time, I actually do level up my Meowth to a Persian for some extra power. The amulet coin doubles any paydays used, as long as the Pokemon holding the item entered the fight. So both cats can make the full money, even though there's only one amulet coin. We wrap up all the trainers we have access to, and get every single item that's worth it, even making trades just to get items. I clear out Victory Road, which is super annoying to do all the puzzles multiple times, but we finally make it through, and now we can take on the Elite Four. These final battles are a delicate balance in a challenge like this. I obviously want to only use Payday to get as much money as I can, but with such strong Pokemon, the issue is actually staying alive, especially over the course of 5 fights where I absolutely refuse to use any valuable healing items. Persian and the power it brings is helpful, but even at level 100, it's not strong enough to obliterate everything. I spent a few hours attempting the Elite Four multiple times, resetting in between, until I found a solution that found the sweet spot of paydays and staying alive. By having Persian as the main fighter, I'm doing solid damage. Not so much that I can one-shot everything, but enough to KO Pokemon before they hurt me too much. I'm also holding an item that isn't the amulet coin. Thanks to the item finder, I was able to pick up 2 copies of the leftovers item, which heals 1/16 of your health every turn. This not only keeps me healthy, but is a held item that isn't consumed through use, meaning its value will still be the same no matter how often I use it. By playing on Switch mode, I can bring in Meowth only when the opportunity is right, using a few paydays, but more importantly, holding the amulet coin, multiplying all paydays used by both Meowth and Persian. I do this for every fight in the Indigo Plateau, switching between the two as necessary. Payday has 20 PP, so I make sure to use all 20 from Persian and all 20 from Meowth. I also have 2 Lepa Berries, which restore 10 PP each, and they're only worth $10 each, meaning I can get way more value from them by restoring Persian's Payday PP. Through my testing, I also found it valuable to use one $600 Ether, giving me an additional 10 PP. Through 5 fights and 70 paydays, I made a total of $128,200. Not too shabby for 5 fights. There's a bit of post-game shenanigans I can complete for some extra dough, but to unlock it, I need to get the National Pokédex by having 60 Pokédex entries. In addition to the 40 Pokemon I collected for the amulet coin, I was able to get 8 more through gift Pokemon, evolutions, and trades of Pokemon I already had, meaning I only needed 12 more. There wasn't anything else I could catch for free, so begrudgingly, I had to use Pokeballs, although only 4 of them. I can minimize my loss by getting 3 Pokemon for every Pokeball I use. Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree in one, Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill in another, and Pidgey, Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot in a third. These are the only available 3 evolution Pokemon that evolve fully through level up. But by catching a Ponyta and trading it to an NPC for Seal, and then evolving Seal into Dugong, I can add 3 Pokédex entries with 1 ball, giving me a grand total of 60 Pokemon and unlocking the postgame. From here, I went through Islands 4 through 7, collecting all the items and fighting all the trainers. I ended up catching 2 more Abras so I could use the move Trick to steal a few valuable items during trainer fights. But aside from that, it was business as usual. All I had left was 1 trip to the Cerulean cave, where I focused on what was really important. Aw, look at Mewtwo. Fun. Okay. Bye. Don't care. And with that, every trainer was fought and every item was collected. So now I can total everything up and tell you roughly how rich you can become in Pokemon Fire Red. Using some planning, I was able to transfer a bunch of money over to Ultra Balls and ended up getting back to $999,991, which isn't perfect, but it's very close. So no money was wasted. Well, here it is. The moment you've all been waiting for. If you don't use any repeatable methods of making money and play the game as optimally as you can for maximizing profit, the rough total you can get to is $2,138,041, which feels
kinda low, honestly. I know a lot of my money was halved by investing in Ultra Balls, but 2 million doesn't feel like that much when I literally did everything I could to make a profit. Obviously, $2 million is a ton of money, and God forbid a 10-year-old get their hands on that much cash. I mean, just think of the Robux they'd buy. But the conclusion that I can draw from this is that money doesn't really matter. The poke economy just doesn't revolve around profit. If you try to capitalize on it, you just end up with a few extra bucks and 2 weirdly strong cats. The true value is the memories that I made from this journey and the people and the places that I got to see. I mean, at the end of the day, I still can't buy that fucking bike.